Hey everyone, Gigi here. Hope you enjoyed that intro music. That is actually a cut from the upcoming album that Joe is working on with his band Change Today. They play songs from his decade plus with TSOL as the frontman, singer, guitarist, as well as some new songs, new material that he's been working on. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope to be able to share a little bit more of that with you. Some clips that Joe had sent me. Just clips because I don't want to spoil anything. But without further ado, here is the conversation I had with the one and only Joe Wood. Let's get right into it.
Hello.
Hey Joe, this is Greg Gallagher.
How you doing?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for asking.
Hey, thanks for taking the time to talk to me this evening, or I guess probably afternoon where you are.
No problem, dude. I enjoyed your channel.
Oh, awesome! Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. I try usually try not to be too fanboy, but I am big fan.
Well, man, that's what I loved about you is that how passionate you are about music. You know, that's exactly what I loved about you.
Thanks, man. I mean, it's my it's pretty much like what I do outside of my day job is not particularly interesting. Not,
Right.
It just pays. But like I answer phones.
Everybody's got to work, man. But your passion is music, and you can tell it comes across that way.
That's awesome. I hope so. Because I do.
It does. It does. I just really enjoyed it, and you only have 382 subscribers or whatever. Those are my favorite people.
Really?
Yeah. I don't like. I like the underdogs. I like the ones that are, that everybody else. I like the ones that are, just trying and just being themselves. And not everybody. You might get 350,000 next year. Who knows? But
with any kind of luck, if maybe I'll hit 1,000. And
well, if you ever need any help, dude, you let me know. Okay, I'd be glad to help you with anything.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Really, that's.
How old are you?
I am 32.
Okay, so you're still a youngster.
I'm not.
Compared to me.
Well, you're correct me if I'm wrong. Are you 60?
I am. I'll be 61 in a few days here.
No shit.
November 28th. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Happy early birthday.
Well, thank you very much.
One of the main reasons, aside from just being a big fan of yours, that I wanted to do this interview with you, of course, is that there's not a lot, at least comparatively speaking, to the rest of the TSOL band. There's not a whole lot about you.
No, I know. Well, they try to erase me.
I kind of got that feeling.
Yeah, they don't like the fact that, the years that I was writing songs for them, it was the most prolific, the most successful years of their career. You know what I mean?
I thought it was so strange because whenever I mention TSOL, more people know your work than the Jack Grisham stuff, oddly enough.
And I still own the name as much as they don't want to believe that.
That
I have
too.
all the paperwork, I still use the name. I'm going to Italy and pretty soon, at the beginning of next year.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't want to. Look, I never wanted. That's all they have. They're the original members. Okay.
Yeah.
And I can't do anything. I can't. Like, I'm not going to sue them or anything. I guess that would make me look like an idiot. That would be an idiotic move. But the bottom line is, I just wanted to be a songwriter and a musician. I didn't want to be a rock star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I am. That's what I do today, and that's what I've always done. And I make more money at it now than I ever did, when I was with them. So, but
that's awesome to hear.
It is awesome, and now my band Changed Today. We play all the old stuff.
Nice, awesome. Pardon me, I'm getting over a cold, so if my sniffling, we're not sitting here cutting lines or anything, but
Right.
Those days are gone. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
me too. We got kids, which that's the only pretty much
That's right.
reason.
They were gone when I had kids too.
A couple things I wanted to ask you about, of course, your time in TSOL. A couple of questions about, the time after it. Yeah, so
Wait, there's nothing off limits. There's nothing off limits.
nice. Because there's from a handful of things I did find, there was some interesting things, and we'll get to that. But correct me if I'm wrong. You joined TSOL. Was it the end of 1983 or was it 1984 by that point?
It It was 1983, September of 1983.
Okay. Real quick before I get into too deep into the TOSOL stuff, something I'm really curious about that I haven't been able to find barely anything about is I wanted to ask about your time in the band. I'm assuming was probably close to the time before you joined. That was Der Stab. Hopefully, I'm saying that right.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm not. I was one of the, like, you know, the first generation punkers in LA. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Before anybody was around. I mean, there was a few bands around, but you know, there was like 100 people that went to LA, you know, from Orange County, and there was 100 people in LA, basically, that, you know, so everybody was at the same shows. And I went to saw the Germs at the Mask with my friend, who made me cut my hair first, and I'm glad I did. But then I was already fiddling with the guitar, and I said, "Dude, we can start a band tomorrow. You know, if you know, we can play, like, you know, those chords."
Yeah.
And so we started a band called Der Stab with this guy named Keith, I can't remember his last name, and Randy, and Perry Peterson, my best friend still to this day.
Oh, nice.
And we started the band, and we had a great time. And when I quit to go on to like, you know, do stuff like the Blasters and the Stray Cats and stuff, that's kind of what I wanted to do right then.
Yeah.
I just wanted to learn how to play, like, guitar too, and I wasn't going to get too far with the bar chords. And hang on a second, hang on. So I quit that. Rick Agnew took my place from all the guys from the Adolescents lived right down the street. They were just little kids, and Tony used to come to our rehearsals all the time. He was like, I swear to God, he's 12 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was cool. It was cool times, man. It was really a really neat time back then.
Yeah, the obviously it was, you know, a couple years before I was even born, but I'm interested in that time.
It was exciting. It was really exciting because punk rock, nobody had ever heard it. It was very dangerous to be a punk rocker back then.
Yeah, that's what I was reading about, and it's, of course, the funny thing, someone like me, I can only read about it. I can never experience what it was like, what the LA punk scene was like in the early and mid 80s. So that was one of the things.
Hold on 1 second. That's my girlfriend. I'm just going to put you on hold. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you get disconnected, I'll call you right back.
Sounds good. Hey, thanks for calling me back.
I never get that right. It's bad. So anyway, I went that route, and then how I got in TSOL was Ron started sitting in with my band, Joe Wood and the Loners, it was called, and you can see them. You can see them on YouTube when I was like 20 years old, I guess, 22 years old.
Really?
And it's Joe Wood and the Loners at the Palomino in Los Angeles. It was like my first gig that I signed an autograph at. It's pretty cool.
I'll have to look that up because I searched, of course, the Lonely Ones, and it brought me, of course, more recent stuff. But I was actually trying to find, and I guess that's where I made my mistake. Search Joe Wood and the Loners.
There's Stop stuff on YouTube also.
Really?
Yeah, there's 2 songs, Tracers and something else.
I'll have to dig because I've been, you know, like anything else, I'm a fan, of course, but I also tried to do, you know, my research for this, sure. And it was really difficult to find, you know, like the most I could find about Der Stab was like blog posts, and kind of oddly enough, the most information I found was on a blog written by, I'm assuming your ex-wife, Dee Dee?
Yeah.
So that was kind of there was more information about Der Stab on her blog than there was on even like sites that were dedicated to like punk rock.
I gotta have somebody do a Wikipedia for me so I can get all, you know, that will help a lot.
Yeah, I'm honestly really surprised by it because you're a pretty prolific songwriter and. Thank
you, but you know, I'm not a big mouth, and I'm a homebody. I'm a pretty quiet person, you know, normally.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I'm not like a scenester. I never was.
Yeah.
You know, I never was, and you know, I don't like a lot of attention, you know, and a lot of people do, and that's just how, you know, that's how I am. So
yeah,
that's why there's not a lot of stuff on me, and I'm pretty private. But I do have to do a couple of things just before I get too old. And
I can't tell you enough times how much I appreciate you taking the time to talk to.
I'm going to send you a package with some really cool stuff.
Oh man, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
because it's funny. I've got again, don't want to make this too much about me, but I've got 7-year-old twins.
Hey, buddy, it's all about you. Remember that.
Thanks, man. But I've got these two kids, and my son is a little mini me, so he's really into, and I listen to all kinds of music. The channel pretty much just covers kind of like the punk rock side of things, but I'm into everything, which is why I kind of
that's smart.
And it's another reason why I like kind of like artists like you in particular, is because you've got very diverse catalog as far as.
Yeah, I gotta say that's not because now I have a studio in my house.
Oh,
and
nice!
I'm doing this fucking crazy shit, dude. I mean, it's just weird. It's spooky, hip hoppy, kind of weird. I just experiment a lot, and I'll send it to you. I'd be curious what you think about this weird stuff.
Yeah, I would love to hear it. One of the things that I heard in another interview that I listened to that you had given. And correct me if my memory's not totally 100 on this. You had said that the reason why you had got into blues was because you wanted to get better at your instrument, and you kind of touched on that a few minutes ago when you said like bar chords weren't going to do it. Obviously, punk rock is not necessarily known for its.
Well, it did get much more creative, later on in the Damned. I always loved the Damned and the Cramps, and there was a lot of good players. You know what I mean? It's just I wanted to learn from the ground up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you had kind of mentioned the blues and also the rockabilly thing. I have a band right now that as you can see, I'm primarily a guitar player, and I record with the band I'm in. I record more guitar than drums because right now we're broke nobodies, so recording live drums is difficult, and to get a good sound, and like as a drummer it pains me to say it's easier to program the drums and have a good sounding song to put up than it is for me to set up all these mics and also
it's hard to find a good drummer, man. Drummers are the vein of my existence, I'm telling you.
Mine too. That's why I started playing drums, is because every drummer, it was hard to find one, and if I did find one, if he was a good player, he was a total dick. Like they are. They normally are. Yeah, I don't know if it's a prerequisite to be a drummer. You gotta be a lot of
musicians will be like that.
I noticed that a lot from playing in bands, because I started, and I'm sure like you, I started at a pretty young age. I was like 14 when I started my first band, and we were terrible. And it's just one of those things where I feel like you mentioned that when you're passionate about something, you never want to give it up. So I've just kept on doing it, and the newest band I'm in right now is kind of a little bit gimmicky, admittedly. Kind of the horror punk thing, is if you wanted to put a label on it, but I like to call it more rockabilly, because it's definitely it's obviously more rockabilly.
Okay, cool.
And I noticed that's one of the things that a lot of your work influences a lot of what I do in the band that I'm in.
That makes me happy, dude.
And I hope so, because you don't. I feel like you don't. It's not always so audible, but especially in.
Well, you'll have to send me some of your stuff also.
I'd love to. I post as you probably know, well, or a little bit less now since you play primarily original music, but when I post an original song, like I'll get very low views, and then of course which I know because I'm not well known. I haven't toured. I've never played off the East Coast, so I can't expect to be getting 1,000 hits when I upload a song. But so I get more views when I do the stuff that people know, which of course makes sense. But yeah, you are a big influence on what I do musically, specifically vocally, and one of the things that I feel like you're a very underrated lyricist.
Well, I think so too. My lyrics are and I just in the last 2 years, I can honestly say, and I'm a very humble human being. I really tried not to be conceited or anything, but I finally have, I read the songs that took me my whole life to write.
Yeah.
And they're like kind of like John Prine or they're like folk songs, but they're as good as anybody. They're as good as any Dylan song or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah, can't wait to hear.
That took my whole life to actually be able to say that. Because that's who I compare myself to, is the greats. So when somebody says that I'm great, I can't believe that, because I know what great is now.
Yeah.
So, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better at my craft, and you know what? I'm going to send you one song from it's about a serial killer.
Oh, nice.
And it's going on the new record. It's called I Am. And I'm going to send you the whole song, but you can't post it because the record's not out yet. And you can let people hear it on your channel or whatever, little pieces of it or whatever.
Yeah, I could play like a snippet.
Can't have the song come out on YouTube or not. I'd be devastated. I'd be bummed.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I definitely don't want to mess anything like that up. That would be the last thing I'd want to do. Is
thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, because I know. I mean, you are you're. Correct me if I'm wrong, you are and have been a professional musician now for 40 years.
Yes. Well, I started professionally when I was 17.
So, so damn, even longer.
I'm 60 now, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I surprised everybody by living this long, that's for sure.
I say that at my age, so yeah.
Including me. And, but it's been nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I really I sacrificed a lot to do what I do. I gave up the white picket fence. I've been through. I'm getting ready to get married for the third time.
Yeah,
I've had a wonderful, very interesting, great life. But I don't write. Commercial songs. I just don't. I don't have any interest in that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And.
To be fair, it sounds like you haven't needed to.
I write what I write, and I'm influenced by I'm influenced by, and a lot of that is the Germs or X or the Doors or even Zeppelin, like the stuff that Bowie, the things that I grew up with,
Yeah.
And so my songs, I always try to put one epic song on a record, and this is the song I'm going to send you right now is the epic song of the record. It's called I Am, and I'm sending it right this second.
Oh, that's awesome! I can't wait to hear it. I'm gonna get the.
I can't wait for you to hear it. Actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the good speakers out and hook that up, because listening to music on the iPad or the iPhone, unless you got a good set of headphones or good speakers, it's not the same.
You gotta hear it on a stereo, or it's not gonna work.
Yeah, like if I demo a mix, a lot of times I'll go out to my car, because that's usually that's the test. I know if I have a good mix, if it sounds good in the car.
Right.
What would you say has been, and you mentioned a little bit, it's like obviously you give up certain things along the way to achieve the dream, essentially. What would you say has been what's your proudest moment in over 40 years of songwriting and being a professional musician?
It just happened like 2 months ago when I wrote this song called Winter's on Its Way. Oh yeah, or there's a song called Let Me Go. When I wrote those two songs, there was nobody in the house. There was I was by myself. Mm-hmm. But those were the proudest moments when I recorded it and played it back and said, okay, there it is. I finally did it. Like every word, every chord, everything was right where it should be, and I wouldn't change a thing. Those were, like, for me, my proudest moments. I had a lot of big moments, that I blew a lot of big moments. I didn't like record company people, so I would often get really drunk before they'd show up. And,
that's awesome.
And
I'm
just
sorry.
blow it, and have the whole band mad at me, but
yeah,
I just didn't give a shit at all. I had a lot of anger and a lot of problems when I was younger too.
Well, I would imagine, yeah.
On my own at 13,
I had heard you mentioned in a previous interview, it kind of led you down the path of eventually becoming into the punk rock scene, was kind of from a kid being like on the street, from a very young age. So you said you were 13, as I'm assuming was that.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky that I got to stay at friends' house half the time, and it was just I just had it was mayhem at my house. My mom was mentally ill, and
I'm sorry
my
to hear
dad
that.
left. So it was me, my 11-year-old sister, and then my brother kind of took my mom and my sister with him, and so I was kind of left with my friends. And luckily, I had really, really good friends. So
Yeah, no, that is really lucky, because you hear these horror stories sometimes, and just to sorry, because I'm all over the place, and I've got all these if you see my notes, it looks like the scramblings of a crazy person.
that's okay. Mine too. So am I.
But one of the things I wanted to ask you about, like I asked a little bit about Der Stab and the kind of blues rockabilly thing, and how you met Ron Emery, and that was through playing in the bands, and he had sat in on your band's rehearsals, you had said.
Yeah, Ron. Everybody will tell a different story, but I have like pictures to prove it.
Yeah.
So Ron was also interested in becoming a great musician, which he did become that, and he was always very talented.
Yeah, he's a
And,
phenomenal guitar player.
and he was one of the first punkers. Well, I remember seeing him like at shows early on, and so he I'm gonna send you this right now. We talked at a party, and I asked him to come sit in, and he did, and we were just doing. I was doing little bowling alleys and little parties and shit, and I got pictures of him playing in that little band, the Loners.
Oh, nice.
And
this would have been 1983.
And then, yeah, well, but early '83, and then Roach, it wasn't supposed to be called TSOL. It was they wanted to start a new band with me singing and writing and with them, and then we did that. And a lot of the songs I had before I was even in that band, like Flowers and Red Shadows, and
So a lot of the songs on the Change Today record.
In my other band.
So a lot of those songs on the Change Today record were written before.
No, but three of them were.
Okay, so yeah, some of the three more well-known songs is obviously Flowers and Red Shadows. That's a fucking great tune.
But I wasn't going to be able to get all my songs on the record unless I split it 4 ways. I actually just recently, because they don't play any of my songs and they don't really want to have anything to do with me anyway. So
that's a shame.
I asked for my publishing back, and then Roach said something like, I came late, and I joined the band way later, and that's not true. Actually, him and the drummer were the other two people who joined the band. Me and Ron were already playing together.
Yeah,
it's my take on it anyway. I mean, I'm sure they have their own take, and that's okay.
Yeah, I sent a message on Facebook to Jack because I was wondering, since I started the interview with you, I'm interested to see if he'll even respond. But one of the things I noticed just from, and again, I don't know Jack at all, other than listening to
I married
some of the
his
records.
sister, though, right?
I did actually. That was one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I read that you
we'll
lived with
finish the thought
Jack.
first, and we'll go back to that.
Yeah. So the one of the things that I was touching on, and why I mentioned Jack was you seem, just from watching and listening to interviews, and Jack seems like a nice enough guy, but you seemed a lot more approachable and seemed a lot more like.
Jack has problems. He has issues. He and I would we all do. We all have
Right.
issues, and the thing is that they did the 40-year anniversary. 10 of those years were mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was kind of something I was thinking.
They asked me like 2 days before the gig, if I wanted to come up and do 2 songs with them, and I said, just have my band come up and do the 2 songs, or just have us play a short set.
Why not have you guys open?
If Jack won't do that. He will not allow that. You know what I mean?
And that I think that's kind of silly on Jack's part.
It's just sad, because
Well, it is.
I don't really care, and
Yeah.
I have my little world, and I enjoy it, and it's very easy to be in my world,
Yeah.
I know what the truth is, and I have it all in writing.
Yeah. So got the receipts, as the kids say these days.
It's okay. You know what I'd like to hear from them is a thank you.
Yeah.
For letting them do this all this whole time, and they did did everything they could do to fuck me over. As far as I don't know what it was them, but I know that Jack I don't know what his deal is, but they weren't. I had a thing going on in Brazil where I went like every couple of years, and I would go play because all of our records got sold there, and they sold a lot of records there. So I would have gigantic crowds,
Yeah, the original band isn't really known that well over there.
Back for, they could have it back. They could have it back completely as long as they didn't go to Brazil.
Yeah.
The first chance they got, they went to Brazil, and now I've never been asked back again because it just confuses everything.
I was just gonna say, I wonder how many confused fans of your songs and your version of TSOL went to one of those first runs over there, and we're just thinking like, what the fuck? What? I don't recognize these songs. I don't recognize this voice.
It was bad of them to do that. It was not cool, and I was trying to be a gentleman. And I still am. I still try to be a gentleman to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't. But the fact of it remains is that they broke the contract. I mean, well, I don't know why they did that. They're not going back there. They don't have their albums were not released there, so nobody knew what they were doing. They were all yelling for my songs. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, I saw a video where they're playing in this really small club, and that's fine. I mean, I know they're not playing.
Right.
The giant clubs over here either, but
their songs, I don't think their songs are up to snuff either. As far as that's what I think. But I also don't think that Jack's letting Ron and Roach write.
Honestly, I don't think so either, because it seems like you could tell. I mean, even though there was a marked stylistic difference from Beneath the Shadows to Change Today, apart from the obvious of there being personnel changes.
Yeah, it wasn't going to have anything to do with TSOL when we wrote those songs.
Yeah, I had heard you mention that it was like you had said earlier, but I heard in another interview that you'd given that originally it was supposed to be a new band. You guys weren't going to call it TSOL, but was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. A manager came in and said, "Why don't we call it TSOL so you guys can get gigs?"
I can get you on tour, and I can get you a record deal ASAP. And that's Roach was kind of the leader of the band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he always was kind of the leader of the band. Roach was like all the hair and all that. That was all him. He had a shop called Metal Monster, and he was hanging around with Robin Crosby from Rat. You know what I mean?
Oh, and I read that the Guns N' Roses thing, is that what led to the kind of hair look on the Hit and Run album?
All that stuff, and it was fun. Don't get me wrong, and I enjoyed the shit out of it. But it wasn't my doing.
Yeah.
I just wrote the songs that the producers asked for.
It's kind of a two-part question. One, when you came into the band, there was that change in the personnel and also in the kind of overall tone. What was it like that first year and a half coming in and replacing Jack Grisham like that?
Well, it was brutal, man. I mean, I got in a lot of fights, and I got my ass kicked quite a few times, and just because I wasn't Jack, and I didn't understand that, and they that put a lot of pressure on the band, and they wanted me to act a certain way and dance around like Jack did, and that's not who I was. You know what I mean? It was brutal, and I'm really surprised that I didn't quit right off the bat, because it was I stood up there and took my lumps for years. It took about 3 years of constant touring to get my own people there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of get your perspective on, like you said, it was, brutal taking Jack's place, and so it was probably
Jack is a fantastic entertainer.
Yeah, I mean he is he's a very dynamic frontman, and
he is, and that's just that, and I'm more of just a wordsmith guy. That's
But I think
that's what I would like to be, as.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to sound too snobby here, but I think anybody that has any type of that either plays an instrument or has that sense of musicality or sense either that knack for melody, and I think anybody that with a set of ears would agree with me that technically speaking, and I no disrespect, but you're a much better singer than Jack from a technical standpoint.
Yeah. But as far as the frontman goes, I he's him and I'm me, and I learned how to become a frontman. But I took more of the the route of Howlin' Wolf, and he did more of kind of the Iggy Pop thing. Oh, that's just a generalization.
Yeah.
And we were all influenced by somebody, but he's his own thing, and God love him. You know what I mean? And I just wish that he didn't, just want to completely erase me from any part of TSOL, because, I got TSOL tattooed all over my body. It meant a lot to me, you know what I mean, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I was still playing in Brazil and other countries.
Yeah. And now you were in that band, was it from 84 to 90, was it 96?
83 to 93, basically, and then I did shows all the way up until, well, I still do TSOL shows, like in other countries.
Yeah. And as what I've noticed is it seems like outside of America, more people know your version of the band, and even, oddly enough, even inside America, at least what the people that I've talked to, more people who even know who I'm talking about when I mention TSOL.
For any kind of career for me, you know what I mean? That TSOL thing.
Yeah, it was
because that was the biggest band that I was ever in, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the original singer that, he was when things were going kind of in the rock and roll way with the Guns N' Roses. He was in a band called Tender Fury that was a rock band.
Yeah.
And then when Green Day came back out, he started Joy Killer. Got back into punk rock as soon as that came out.
Yeah, he's kind of followed the trends.
He's always changed, with whatever was happening in radio, or whatever.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
I'm just saying, he's a very strong personality. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I lived with him for 10 years. I mean, he lived in the same house as me. His house, it was his mom's house, and my ex-wife owns it now. It's a very famous house, actually. It's on Ladoga, which is one of his last names.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what was it like living with the guy that you had replaced in the band?
There was never any problems.
Really?
We got a couple beefs, but, there was never really any issues at all.
Wasn't awkward ever?
We'd sit down and chat and keep it light, and there was never any. He had his band and I had my band, and his mom was getting pissed that TSOL was becoming successful without Jack, and that caused a lot of rift in my world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
because
guess
Jack was the baby boy, and
okay.
So that even was one of the reasons I left, is because she just kept getting worse and worse with that stuff. But I love her, I love her. She passed away a couple of years ago, and I love her. And I spent a lot of time with the whole family, and actually his brother just came to my show the other day out in Marietta, and his brother-in-law and his sister come to my shows, and their kids come, and so I'm friends, pretty much with the family. I'm going over to Dee Dee's, my ex-wife, for Christmas with my new girlfriend, and everything's copacetic. It's just
that's really cool. Actually,
Jack pisses me off, and he knows he does, and it's just funny, you know what I mean? He pushes my buttons, and that's all right.
Again, I tried to do as much research as I could, so you didn't feel like you were telling the same story for the 10th or 12th time or whatever,
right.
Or 100th time probably for you. But one of the things I heard you had mentioned, and again, like I honestly have never heard you say anything negative about Jack.
Right.
But and this isn't even negative. The only thing that I was wondering if and you kind of already did, but I was wondering if you just could elaborate. You'd said that Jack's hard to be friends with, and you lived with him for 10 years. So I was wondering.
Jack was hard. You ask anybody. He's hard to be friends with. He's so charismatic. He's so funny. He could be such a fucking gentle gentleman. And then he will take you and throw you under the fucking bus in front of everybody. He didn't do it to me, but he did it to a lot of other. Well, he did it to me like when I'm not around, But I've seen him do it to other people. He's the fire starter, and then he runs out the back door. But
yeah.
It's not even his fault. You know what I mean? It's not like that's just who he is.
Yeah, you can't change who you are.
It's sad.
Yeah, I mean that's. It kind of sucks because I feel like I thought it was so interesting that you guys lived together. I thought it was, for lack of a better term, kind of funny that you ended up marrying his little sister and then living together for several years.
That's part of the whole documentary. Is that time, that 10 years that we were together.
Yeah, it's.
They're gonna leave all that out. I mean, nobody nobody cares about fucking, all the bitching gigs you did and all the funny things you said at the gigs and all the girls you fucked and all the drugs you took. That's been told a million times.
Yeah.
There's an actual soap opera in this story that needs to be told.
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking to my wife a little bit before I called you and just kind of explaining a little bit because she's like we're into a lot of the same music, but she doesn't go as deep, and especially into like the kind of like 80s punk and hardcore scene, which I love to learn more about.
Great things about both bands.
Oh, and you said there's two camps.
Go ahead.
There's a little bit of a delay on the phone, so I really don't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I don't either.
And I heard you. Another thing I heard you say is kind of there's two camps, and I happen to be in both. I do enjoy the original TSOL. Like I'm sure you probably saw, I covered Code Blue as well. But
there's plenty of people that can go back and forth. There's plenty. I'm one of those people.
Yeah, I feel like there's.
I'm one of those people that I'm mad at him one minute, and the next minute, I just, I asked my guitar player, quit. I asked Ron to come play with us, in Vegas at Punk Rock Bowling,
That's awesome.
So yeah, but he couldn't do it, he would have got in trouble.
Yeah, I was wondering. I guess maybe that would have caused some type of drama somewhere.
It really shouldn't. I wasn't going to steal him. You know what I mean?
No, he asked him to play a gig.
Ron should play with anybody he wants to. He's a great guitar player, and
fantastic.
I learned a lot from him, and he's been a good friend.
Do you still talk to Ron? Like regularly?
Talked to him, I was going over before they really started, doing the TSOL push. I was going over his house with my wife. Like in 2002, 2003, we were hanging out over at his house and stuff.
That's cool.
It was cool, and Roach was my best friend for years. I mean, like when we were doing all this stuff.
Yeah. And I guess do you not talk to Roach anymore, or ever really at all?
It's strained, you know what I mean. You can tell it's strained because I'm pissed about some stuff, you know what I mean. And
rightfully so.
I don't want to be. I mean, I don't sit around thinking about it or anything, but
right.
It comes up every now and then in interviews, and people want to know. And I love those guys like brothers, and they know that. And
Well, I'm sure a lot of it's water under the bridge by now, but I'm sure there's still some stuff that. Is
yeah, I was supposed to get my publishing back after 30 years. That's what I was told by my manager. I can't find the paper, but and who knows what? It doesn't matter really. I've moved on a long time ago, and I didn't play these songs for 25 years. When people were just begging for the songs, they would come to my Lonely One shows, and they'd want to hear the TSOL songs, and I wouldn't play them because. I was just trying to move on, you know what I mean? And
yeah, you're trying to do something different.
I want to play my new shit, and I didn't have any fans anyway at that point. You know what I mean? Like there was nobody at my shows for 10 years, like 5 people.
Really?
And I just kept playing and playing and playing and playing.
Yeah, and
I don't care
build an
if
audience.
people are at my show. I don't care who's there. You know what I mean? Because when I start singing and I close my eyes, I become whatever character that is in the song. I don't even see anybody.
What drives you to continue to create, and where do you
the process of creating a song, recording it, either putting it out or not putting it out. I have hundreds that aren't put out, and just be done with it and have a song that I know I'm done with it and it's great, you know what I mean, and that all the parts are the way they're supposed to be. Now on this new album I recut Red Shadows and I recut Flowers by the Door.
Really?
Which is going to be awesome because I want to own the masters, you know what I mean, to those songs. And these ones I will. And I can send you, I'm going to send you pieces of both of those too.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'd really, really appreciate that because I'd love to hear those. Which that's kind of a good segue into another one of the things I wanted to ask you. I had I had heard in another interview, and you don't have to name any names or anything, of course, but I had heard that Black Magic was about a particular girl from your past.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how, what was there?
I've always got witchy girls hanging around. I mean, all the girls that I've ever, have been attracted to have been kind of witchy.
That's kind of funny because she's probably going to give me the death stare now, but my wife is kind of that way, and that's kind of been
Yeah, they've all you know, and that's just been my journey, and I love that. You know what I mean? I like gothic stuff. You know, I like dark stuff, and that song was just every song that I wrote and write. It has to do with my life and or my vision or what I see is happening, or you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, you don't really need to read anything on the internet or anything. If you just listen to the songs, you can hear my whole life in them.
Well,
Like 16, I mean, every song.
one of the things I love about your songs is there's well, like a lot of good like writers, there's usually a story in there. What I like about your lyrics is that there's a lot of songs that I listen to and I know I'm like, okay, he was going through something similar to what I'm going through, or like, holy shit, this guy felt the exact same thing that I'm feeling now. And you know, that's why I was thrilled to be able to talk to you, because it's one of the cool things about like the 2021 kind of like this like kind of years that we're in now with the pandemic and everything. So much about these days sucks, but there's really cool things, like, you know, it's 2021.
Really cool things, and that's the way you have to look at it, man. You're right.
Yeah, like I get bummed sometimes, and I get real in my own shit, and then other times, like, I have to think of, even if it's something small or something that somebody else might consider insignificant, but like I just think it's so cool that I was able to send you an email and be like, hey, do you want to have this have a conversation? And you're
this is what I do. I've been doing this my whole life. And another thing is you know, with the songs, like, some people see music as color, you know, and some people see it as however they see it. But I was watching an interview with Sting, you know, and I see everything in a movie.
Yeah.
Like it's a story that has characters, and then all I got to do, it's like a crossword puzzle. All I do is fill in the words with cool words, and try not to be contrived, or try not to be profound or anything like that. So then, but try to keep it simple. And I heard Sting. He was talking, you know, 'cause I study music, and I just try to study from everybody. And he was talking. He sees that's how he sees his songs, you know, as characters in a storyline. You know, it's like a play.
Yeah.
Once I have that in my head, the song is done. Like, that means it's done. It's just a matter of time before I get it down onto you know, the ethers or whatever.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of your songs, and it almost it feels like more so as your catalog kind of progresses, both with TSOL and with your solo work. A lot of the songs do have a kind of cinematic quality to them. Either
they should. They should. That's what I studied. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted it to be poetic. I love poetry, and you know, I love fucking theater and all that stuff. You know.
Yeah, I can definitely tell in your lyrics there is definitely a kind of of course, you know, songs are essentially poems with music anyway, but one of the things I noticed, there's kind of a lot of themes that go throughout a lot of your songs, and it's one.
I get my songs kind of. Sometimes I'll be walking, like In the Wind. I was walking by a magazine rack, and it was a biker magazine called In the Wind.
No shit.
So that song's about being on a motorcycle.
Really?
And with the wind blowing in your face, yeah.
So that's cool. I mean,
it's just that simple. I mean, like, really simple things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really cool, because only slightly off topic, because it still has to do with one of your songs. But one of the things that's always that I've always kind of wondered about over the years is, why is the song Changed Today not on the album Changed Today and on Revenge?
Because Ron wrote the music, and he wrote some of the words to that song after we put that album out.
Okay.
There's a cool video for that song too. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No, I didn't. I was trying to find.
Because that song was in a movie. I can't remember the name of it.
Because wasn't Nothing for You in Return of the Dead or Return of the Living Dead?
We've got a lot of songs in the movie, you know, and after school, Flowers by the Door, just like things, and an after school special about teenage suicide. What's sad is like 4 or 5 people have actually used that song as their exit plan, and, you know, did a thing on Facebook, and, you know, put Flowers by the Door, and then just pasted, a black picture up there, and then they take their own life, and then I have to hear about that shit, and it drove me fucking crazy. So on this new album, I wrote an answer to that, and it's called "Behind the Veil," and you can chance to hear some of that.
Yeah, I really can't wait to hear that.
That this last tour we were on. I mean, this kid that I've known, he was a kid that just was a fan, and since he was a little kid from Providence, Rhode Island, and his name was Greg Moses. And I woke up one morning when I was living, at Jack and Dee Dee and Mom over there in Long Beach, and he was in our front yard camping out, and he was like, I swear, 14 years old. He hitchhiked and found a way to go across America.
Wow.
And so we took him in and called his family and he visited me every year, for years, and wrote many letters, and I stayed friends with him, but he had severe, emotional problems, and
yeah.
And I got a call from his sister or his girlfriend. He told me that he killed himself, and I looked on Facebook, and it was just, it was devastating that my song was part of that.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, but kind of led right into it. When I was, I'm part of a couple different groups on Facebook. There's actually a really nice kind of group, which is strange to be on Facebook, called Punk Rock Dads, and it's they're actually on V3. Yeah, it's you should check it out. It's called Punk Rock Dads. This is V3 because people post stuff on there, and then tight asses report it. So this is the third group that they've had. But I mentioned on there when you agreed to do this interview with me, I went on there and excited and was telling folks about it, and a couple of folks, apart from just hey, that's cool, had said, hey, you should maybe ask him this or that. And one of the things that somebody had commented on was they had said that they had heard that Flowers by the Door was supposedly written for some type of either like a suicide special, like an after school special. And
that song was my song, and it was about me. I felt about I wanted to get suicide as a teenager.
So that's like, I guess, a very personal song. Like that's all.
My songs are exactly like that. Like they all come from talent or story. I have. Like there's nothing. Every song.
Yeah, I noticed one of the things about like a lot of the songs. There's, like I mentioned, there's recurring themes, and I noticed there's, like, obviously what we just touched on. There's a lot of themes of loneliness and isolation, and even maybe I read too much.
On the road, I'll tell you that. It was lonely for me, growing up. I had a beautiful family as a young child, and then when I was 13, all that fell apart.
Yeah, so I can imagine that must have been devastating.
And, I'm not going to whine about it, but that's why I wrote all the songs like that, and that's why they were like that. And I think people have a misconstrued idea about punk rock and what it means. Punk rockers are outsiders. That means, like, when punk rock went mainstream, if you're still in punk rock, you're that's not punk rock.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean, and it's yeah, like, I like some of the bands that call themselves punk rock, but it's kind of.
I didn't say, don't get me wrong.
But I don't consider that. Oh no, but I don't consider that punk rock.
It wasn't what punk rock was when to us when we were. Punk rock was dangerous as hell, and it was new. It was brand new. None of this shit had been done before.
Yeah, there's the song by NoFX. I can't remember the name of the song, but they asked, when did punk rock become so safe? I remember when I was first introduced to it just from being into skateboarding, and I was god awful at skating, but it was, the skaters were the only kids that were nice to me. The skaters were the only ones that didn't, spit at me or call me a faggot. So, those were the kids that I hung out with, and those were the kids that introduced me to punk rock, and those were the kids that would take me to a show that, I remember the first time I went to a show, and my friend, my friend Mike at the time had told me, he was like, you might want to take your glasses off. And I was like, why? Just real innocent. And he was like, I just wouldn't wear them to this gig if I were you. And I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't realize why he was telling me that. until the band started playing and this circle pit starts happening. And I got knocked down a couple times, but each time I got knocked down, somebody else would pick me back up. And it was kind of it was one of the most interesting things about it is like it was such a rough crowd, but they were also, I mean, you had to be careful because there were people that,
There's a code.
yeah,
It's kind of a code, you know what I mean?
yeah, even those, kind of rough and tumble punk rock guys, I said there's a code. There was some people you could tell, go to some shows and there's rougher crowds than others. Some people are just there to hurt somebody, but the majority of the people in the community that I found were very, very accepting, which is somebody who always felt like an outsider. It was, it was kind of like, oh, thank you. I couldn't believe that I'd found a group of people that was willing to accept, my
Awesome.
nerdy little ass.
I mean, every thought has a lid,
Yeah.
It's nice too because I found the same thing with skaters and surfers.
Still with me, Joe?
I'm still with you, sir.
Sorry, when went dead there, I was like, oh no, what happened? And my phone's kind of a piece of crap. So, what? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but like I noticed there's a kind of a difference. Like the Change Today record is still, for its stylistic difference, is still kind of, for the most part, in line with TSOL up to that point, as far as the darker themes, and that the record still has a very hard edge to it. And even the same thing with Revenge. I feel like while it veers a little bit more into the hard rock than the punk territory, it's still the songs you could tell that the songs, that the core of it was still kind of rooted in punk rock. The feel was still there. By the time it got to Hit and Run, it felt, was that a result of the kind of Guns N' Roses association that came with you guys by that time?
No. It was just like as we went as we grew older, we started listening to all kinds of different music and the stuff that was popular right then was AC/DC I remember, punk rockers couldn't get a gig, like Mike Ness couldn't get a gig, back then.
Yeah.
And so we were just kind of cruising along, writing songs, whatever was coming up, and that's what happened, and it was we were LA guys, and I was anyway, and I was leaving this place. It was just a lot of fun, and it was fashion, and it was sex and drugs and rock and roll, the epitome of that.
Yeah.
And then when Grunge came out, that was they were plaid shirts and shorts, and that it wasn't cool to be groovy anymore or anything like that. All that shit went out the door.
Kind of noticed that from looking back.
It definitely needed to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sign, and that's why it happened. And then hip hop got big too. I mean, it was there's this, and then folk rock made a resurgence, and then everybody jumped back on that thing again, and that's cool too. But
yeah, it's like a cycle.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I've just never been a part of any of that. Like I just go straight forward, write songs, play. I have a cool little bar band, you know what I mean? I love playing in that band, and I play all kinds of places, and I do all kinds of benefits, and I got Change Today now too, which is a lot of fun, and I'm really excited about the record.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you. So you have two bands now, right? Because you still do stuff with the Lonely Ones, and then you have Change Today to cover the TSOL era stuff, right?
I'm trying to get it so it just becomes one band. You know what I mean? Because I got it's three people, most of them are three pieces,
mm-hmm.
I just have different drummers for each one. But I'm trying. I've been trying. Now you either have too many drummers or not. There's none.
Yeah. It's crazy how that works. And
but anyway, I love all my guys. I've been with them. I've been with them a long time.
Can I ask you about Cisco Poison?
Yeah.
Because that's another band that I've seen. There's a music video on YouTube, and
that's the best record I've made to date so far. I mean, that's probably the best record that I made. I mean, that was Jim Monroe.
Yeah, it's just that one on there. That's the only one on YouTube.
the one I put on there. That's it.
That's the only one up there.
Yeah, that album's never been released ever.
So is it available to purchase anywhere? Like, or can you? No. That's a shame because the song that I heard.
I'll send you the songs though. I'll send you the songs.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy with what the internet is doing, with money. Because I used to make royalty checks. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And then the record companies sold out to the Spotify's and stuff, so they just pay you like 0.001 per million copies. It's a million streams, which basically should be a fucking gold record for any musician. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You should have a platinum record hanging in your house. People would buy music streams. You know what I mean? And the money's gone. Like it goes to those guys. And there's nothing anybody can do about it. I mean, they try. Some of the musicians and people. They give musicians a hard time for that. But this is our livelihood. This is what we chose as our living. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Basically, you study to be a musician. Not just a rock star, but to be a musician, you study your whole life, like like a doctor or a lawyer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of your craft, and you just don't get that kind of. You don't get that. You don't get any of the respect, and it's okay. I don't care about that, but I'm just saying. That's it's just hard to be dedicated to this in this world when you need so much to survive. I've been very lucky. I got my own house and it's paid for, cash and all that stuff. So I got very lucky, the way I did things.
Glad to see upon doing kind of research, and I've been following you for a little while now.
Right.
And I was really glad to see that you were still, not only writing and recording music, which is another good thing about kind of this day and age and technology is you can record at home.
I love that. I love having a studio at home. I used to have to go somewhere every time I wanted to record a song, and I would. I'd go pay whatever, or some friend would let me record at their house, and nobody wants to, record somebody else's music. They want to record their music, normally. So now that I have it at home, I'm basically like a mad scientist in here all day long, every day, pretty much, on my computer, and, with Pro Tools and just putting down tracks.
Yeah, it's my favorite pastime, and it's funny. I've been listening to I've listened to a lot of your stuff, obviously, because I've been kind of preparing for this, sure. and also just, of course, I'm a fan, but I'm also I'm planning on going in to record some of my own original music. It's the first original stuff I've done since 2018. A friend of mine has a studio in his house, but I'm excited to go into a studio and record that stuff, and it's different from the last stuff I've done, but and I'll have to send you some stuff, because there's a song that I kind of wrote after I listened to Change Today and Revenge one after another. I like the other records too, but those two are really kind of the ones that spoke to me from the TSOL stuff. It doesn't sound anything like anything on any of those records, but I listened to those records, and I was listening to your lyrics, and I struggle with lyrics, but a lot of the lyrics on there had really inspired me to pick up and try and write something that I thought that somebody else other than me would feel, because I was listening to those songs, and it's certain songs I was like, I felt like I could feel, like I knew what you were talking about. I could feel the feelings that were there.
And when you're real and you're talking about just real feelings and stuff, and not, that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's what connects with people. And I feel like there's, especially in modern music, whether it be, modern punk or pop or anything, at least in mainstream, a lot of that is missing. It's one of the things why I find myself still coming back to your work and some of the other, musicians that have inspired me and had an effect on how I.
You know what the problem is, and this is, and I'm open this door just for a minute, and we got to close it real quick because it drives me crazy. Is tribute bands, so-called tribute bands, are the fucking ruining the fabric of music. It's just rehash, and people are not. They do not want to experience the next, great artist. They just want to go back to when they were 19 years old, and these people are making tons of money off of other people's art, calling it a tribute to them, and it's so grotesque.
Yeah, so, I don't care for that stuff.
Anti-tribute band league.
I'm not a fan of tribute bands. I never have been. I always thought it was kind of, like you said, it's gross.
Bands. I don't mind cover bands. A cover band, you got to have those every now and then. But
of course, especially in bars.
I do plenty of covers myself, but
that's mainly what I do.
You, man, the tribute bands, that is, you get these kids. Here's what's going to happen is they're going to come out of their music school, and they're going to write a few songs, and they're not going to get the reaction that they think that they should get, and they're going to join a tribute band because they got a bunch of people screaming at them because they're acting like somebody else, and that is horrible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't understand how people don't get that.
It bugs the shit out of me because I'll watch stuff on YouTube, and I follow. I try to be active in the local scene. It's hard these days, pre-pandemic, but
I do too.
Or post-pandemic rather, of course. But like the acts that get gigs or that get paying gigs are these tribute acts, and it's just I don't understand it.
You'll see a great band, there'll be nobody in the club, and the next night some fucking AC/DC tribute band's playing, and it's a line around the corner, and that just grotesque. It just grosses me out, man. There's a tribute. Some guy called me up to do a tribute band of my version of TSOL.
Yeah.
And I told him, no fucking way, dude. I am so fucking anti-tribute band. I mean, and I post a lot of shit on my Facebook about that.
Yeah.
And about how lame they are and how fucking sick it is, and how they're basically making money because it's about money. It really is.
Well, those are the only bands that are getting paying gigs, and that's what pisses me off.
Those are great paying gigs, and they're part of the problem, not the solution to the whole world, basically.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because I'm not a fan of cover. Or I like cover bands. I'm not a fan of tribute bands. I never have been.
Yeah, I can't stand it. And I remember it's like 30 years ago, I was in Las Vegas, and this guy goes, I was in an elevator, and a guy tells me, "Yeah, tribute bands are going to be the next big thing." And I'm like, "Fucking no way are people that stupid."
Oh man, I wish you were wrong. I wish you were people that apparently they are.
No, they are. They're fucking lames.
Yeah, it's really a shame because there's so many great bands.
Yes.
Like
new bands.
Yeah, that play original music.
Yes.
And
yes.
And it sucks because I like those are the bands that I always try to like if anybody asks me, yeah, exactly, if somebody asks me what are you listening to, I'll say whatever the local band I saw or who I've always been root for the underdog type of person anyway, but that's also
me too. I like that because if they're not the underdog, they don't need your support. They're already happening. You know what I mean? They got plenty of people supporting them. The underdogs ain't got nobody.
Right. Exactly.
I'm on for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's another thing.
Is there any other like I gotta go pretty soon, and I apologize.
Oh yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah, and I appreciate you taking, giving me this much time, and hopefully I'll be able to talk to you again. But there is at least one or two other things I did want to see if I could get your thoughts on.
Sure.
The Strange Love record.
Yeah.
I heard you'd say the producers fucked that record up, and that
No, it just sucked. The whole thing sucked. Roche, it was bad. I was clean at that point, and not everybody in the band was. And we had Marshall Roner, who was a great guitar player, but he was really strung out at the time. And then we had Dave Jansen as the producer. We almost had Rick Rubin. I mean, Jesus Christ, what a difference. I mean,
yeah.
It just sucked. And it's embarrassing. And there were some good songs on there before they got laid down, and you know what? A lot of that's my fault too, and I have to take responsibility for that. And because I let it happen, and I just didn't. I just didn't see it. I was already kind of moved on in a different direction by then too.
And I'm sure probably most so for you being the the primary songwriter from what I imagine, is it's a frustrating record because I feel like you can tell in at least a handful of the songs that it was there.
Exactly.
You know, like there was something there. It wasn't like it's a frustrating record to listen to.
It got produced by the guy who produced Cinderella, and you know, I like Jansen. He's a great guy and everything, but you know, everybody was strung out, man. You know, everybody was. It was a fucked up time. We gave up. You know, we just kind of did what we were told.
Were you?
You know, we got a good advance. You know, and with my money, I took vocal lessons. Is what I did. I'm glad I did because I still use those. You know, that stuff today. You know, and grunge came out right then, and that's just dated. It's horrible. I didn't want to play punk rock anymore after the style. I wanted to play other stuff. I wanted to just explore music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some of those explorations down those caves were bad moves, and that was one of them. And you know, I will always be a punker. You know, I am a punker in the true sense. I am an outlaw and I am a rebel. And you ask any of my friends, and but musically, you know, I don't do what anybody else is doing. I just do my own thing.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've always liked about your whole approach to it is it's never felt contrived. It's never felt like you don't follow the trends. You don't go with what's popular. You just do you, which is very admirable. And
no, it's hurt me quite a bit, but I don't know any other way to do it. I can't stand the populace, you know, and what they like.
Yeah, well, I mean, the sad thing is the overwhelming, you know, majority of your kind of average listener is, and I hate to insult people, but a lot of people are kind of just they're stupid and they don't appreciate.
They're just I don't know if they're stupid, but they're definitely shallow and they're not deep thinkers. And
that's the
music,
word.
You have to think about it, and you know, if everybody was on hit an acid or something, it'd sound great to them, but they're not, and that's okay. But you know, who my favorite band was when I was a punker was a band called the Chiefs.
Really?
And they were from the South Bay, like Black Flag, and I just love them. And they got a song on the Chiefs. I like the Zeros. Those are just fucking cool bands, man. I love fucking, you know, I loved everything Keith Morris has ever done.
Keith Morris is a genius. Another one of my.
I liked everything, and I've loved everything he's ever done. The first guys I met in LA when we went down there.
Really?
We hang out with him. Yeah, he was a very, very cool, knowledgeable, smart dude, and I've spent a lot. You know, I got to have some nice conversations with him over the years. It's been nice.
That's awesome.
Other than that, you know, I don't talk to too many people.
Another favorite of mine from a similar era, I think you guys may have even been label mates at one point, is Agent Orange.
He lives right by me.
I was going to ask, do you know Mike Palm? Mike
Palm.
I was going to say, you know him too, right?
Yeah.
You say he went to Brazil with you?
Yeah, they opened up the shows for us in Brazil.
No shit, that's awesome.
I think we opened a couple too. I think it went back and forth. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, almost headlining thing.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty big over there too. Like it's probably bigger over there in some respects.
They are pretty big over there. You know, that first album is a classic. You know.
Oh yeah, Living in Darkness. That's an incredible record, and it's kind of one of those things, kind of in line like with that more like dark approach to things. And
it's so many secret agent shit, man. It's good shit.
Whatever happened to Mitch Dean?
Well, he became a very successful businessman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he runs Cat Power Entertainment. Yeah.
Oh. Damn.
He runs power he has all the power for Coachella, you know, the Olympics, all that stuff.
Damn. So he.
Yeah. He's the. You know, that's when I had to go to work when I had my kid and I went to work. I got a job with them.
Really?
Mitch got me the job. Yeah, and I worked with them for years and years.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, Mitch is doing really great, man. Just great. He's a granddad now. He looks great. His wife is beautiful, man. He's a fantastic human being.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that because I could find.
I mean, not everybody would say that, but I certainly would because he's like my brother, you know.
I mean it's cool because I can find, apart from the fact that he played some drums on some records with you, I could barely find anything out about him.
Oh yeah, he was in the Joneses. He was from New Jersey. Him and Roach are the two guys that ran the band. You know what I mean?
See,
They did all the business.
I never knew that. I always thought, and kind of the dumb part of me, I always figured because like you and Ron were the kind of focal point. Right. I figured.
Me and Ron were the quiet ones, really. Like we didn't want to have anything to do with that. We just wanted to write music.
Yeah, that's kind of the more I've heard, the more I realize that that was your thing. You and Ron were all about the music, whereas some other folks weren't as much, weren't about the music as the way you guys were.
Somebody had to do the other stuff too, and thank God, because they always made sure we came home with money in our pocket. Well, I never did, but those guys did. I spent all my money, drugs.
Like many people, struggle with addiction. I noticed that a lot in the lyrics. I've struggled with it myself. It's one of the things that I identified a lot with. There's a lot of themes of addiction in a lot of those songs, and it's in hard times.
Life, you know what I mean? And it's not for everybody, and you can't continue to do them all the time. You have to stop, and you can't overshoot the mark.
No.
I mean, there's just so many. And then the heroin is gone forever now that fentanyl shit came out. I mean,
yeah, it's not even.
Told me a couple times, I won't touch any of that shit anymore because it's just not any good.
No, it's.
I like good illicit narcotics, and if they're not available, and I don't take any, so then there you have it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I always said. Like I don't want give me the good shit or don't give me it at all.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't take not a fucking nothing from the doctor, not one pill.
No, I don't blame you that way, man. I've been more fucked up by prescription medication than anything else I put in my body over the years.
My last life, it's horrible.
Yeah, that is a shame, and I'll definitely want another conversation with you. I'd love to get into that.
Anytime, all right? I mean that.
I really appreciate that, and I
want thousands of subscribers, brother. We're gonna do your YouTube channel. I got one too. I got like 7 subscribers because I started it and I just never revisited it.
Well, I started my channel in 2013. I had 7 subscribers until last year.
Oh, you're doing good, man. You're doing good, and I really enjoyed it. And I just enjoy your passion for music, and I really appreciate that you're interested in anything that I do because I am kind of off the grid, and that's okay with me. But I'm gonna send you some music, and you can play someone thing or whatever you want to do with it. Or you can say it sucks even. Some of it no, some of it may, but some of it will be good.
I'm sure it is, and I can't wait to hear it.
Well, you already have the one song. You have the one about the serial killer. The song that scared the shit out of me when I was writing it.
Yeah, I saw the I saw the notification pop up on my iPad when you were talking.
And tell me how you liked it later on.
I definitely will. And I know you got to go, so I'll.
Great talking to you, man. And you can call me back if you got any things, but I got to run right now.
Yeah, no problem, man. It was great talking to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Hey, I need your address, so text me your address. I'm gonna send you bunch of stuff.
That's awesome. I definitely will, and I again I can't thank you enough. I appreciate.
No worries, buddy. It's been a pleasure. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Bye now.
Bye. That was my conversation with Joe Wood, formerly of TSOL and currently of Change Today and the Lonely Ones.